coming up, it's coming up, it's coming up, it's there.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mr. Clockwork Apple, and it is the third week in Studio Laika Month, where I'm reviewing the third film, Box Trolls. Easily the lightest of the four movies, the most light-hearted, child-friendly, Box Trolls is actually probably my favourite of the three I've reviewed so far. It's not the best, but it's my favourite. I'll get into that later. So our main character here is Eggs. His name's Eggs. I'll explain why in a minute. Box Trolls deals with this sort of old parody of Victorian tile towns, and there's these little creatures called box trolls. They're little goblin-y, human-y trolls. I can't really use any word for it. And instead of clothing, they wear boxers. They've got their arms sticking out the sides, heads sticking out the top, legs coming out the bottom. And our main character is a human baby who was basically adopted and raised by the box trolls, and he thinks he is one. And the story deals with him discovering that, actually venturing into the human world and discovering he's human and not a box troll. But the problem is, there's also lots of things going on in the town, because everyone in the town believes that box trolls are these vicious, child-eating, bloodthirsty monsters, when really they're a bit odd. I mean, they collect garbage and build things out of it, and they can't speak English. They just sort of blah, 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 blah. I can't explain it without sounding stupid. They make little noises. So they're a bit weird, but they're harmless. I mean, look at these guys. I'm going to turn that upside down. Look at them. You can't possibly think that was threatening. But the whole town thinks they're dangerous monsters, and the bad guy is an exterminator who's trying to round them all up and kill them, because that means he'll get a special white hat that basically means he's one of the upper classes in the town, and he gets to go to these meetings and eat fancy cheeses. Yeah, there's a lot of cheese involved in this town. The town itself is called Cheese Bridge, and one of the plot points revolves around this huge, great ball of cheese, I think called the Behemoth, which is, I laughed. I couldn't stop laughing when I first heard that. Ultimately, I can't really explain much more of the plot than that without going into spoilers again. So as I said, this is the most, as I said, and you can probably figure this out yourselves, but this is the most light-hearted of the four Studio Laika films. Probably the most child-friendly as well. If you want to get your kids into these movies, start with this one, because it's the one they'll have the least trouble. They won't get scared by it. Once again, I know I've said this too many times, but the stop motion is fantastic. It just gets better and better each time. This one shares a bit more of Paranorman's style of stop motion, where everything's slightly jagged and not quite the right shape, which I love. It makes the whole thing, gives this particular style, which I can't get enough of. Once again, the environments, this time, because it's this old Victorian town, everything's very urban, back streets, lots of great big buildings and not much light. It's very nice, very well animated. Can't get enough of it again. One thing worth mentioning is that there's a particular stop-motion model in the end of the film. I can't describe what it is without spoilers, but at the time this film was released, it was the largest stop-motion model ever made. I think about 5 feet tall, which is pretty impressive. That's a record that wouldn't get broken until the fourth Studio Laika film, which I'll go into next week, but that'll wait till I get to it. Not actually too much I can say about this one, really. Again, all of the voice acting is fantastic. I've said that for all 3 of these movies. Basically, anything that applies to one of these movies applies to all of them. Graphics, voice acting, atmosphere, they're all fantastic. And so the problem is I have the least to say about this one, because so I've already said it about the others. I can't think of anything else I can say, to be honest. Obviously, because of the box trolls, there's lots of inventive machinery and gadgets around the place, all built out of scrap, which it gives that sort of steampunk aesthetic that I, again, can't get enough of. So you can probably see why this is my favourite one in the series. Well, at least favourite one I've reviewed so far. You probably figured out already that I like the fourth one best, but again, I'll get to that when I review it. This actually was nominated for a animation Oscar award again. It was tied with Wreck-It Ralph to win it, but then they both got beat by Brave, which annoyed a lot of people, me included. This should have won it. So again, if I have to give this a score, I would say it's about an 8 out of 10. I think a bit better than Coraline, not as good as Paranorman, but it's my personal favourite. I can't quite make sense of that. It's not the best, but I like it the most. So yeah. With the third movie down, I've only got one movie left in Studio Laika Month. This is the part where I'd wave the DVD around, but it hasn't been released yet. So join me next week for Kubo and the Two Strings. It's Japanese, and I love Japan, and it's Studio Laika, and I love Studio Laika, so it's two of the best things ever smushed into one, and I love it, I love it, I love it. Be there next week. Goodbye.